The congressional hearing room felt like a pressure chamber on the verge of bursting. Governor Greg Abbott sat at the witness table with the calm confidence of someone who had spent years navigating Texas politics and believed he had seen every scenario. His wheelchair was positioned deliberately at the center, cameras capturing his every move. Leaning toward the microphone with the practiced ease of a veteran public figure, he prepared for yet another high-profile appearance before Congress. Today, he was there to promote his newest legislative proposal, the Community Protection Act, a bill he presented to Texans as a solution to their growing safety concerns. His opening remarks were polished and steady, filled with familiar law and order themes that resonated with his supporters. "We're simply equipping law enforcement with the tools they need to safeguard our communities," he said, his voice carrying its usual blend of Texas confidence and political authority. A few seats down, Representative Jasmine Crockett listened with the sharp focus of a seasoned attorney sensing weaknesses in an argument. At just 42, the Dallas Congresswoman had earned a reputation for thorough preparation and an unwillingness to let political messaging go unchallenged. While other committee members nodded politely or exchanged quiet words with aides, Crockett sat perfectly still. Her pen moved with purpose. She wasn't taking notes, she was building a case. For the past 72 hours, she had done what she always did before major hearings, read every line of the proposed bill, compared it to constitutional standards, consulted civil liberties experts, and gathered real-world examples of how similar measures had played out in other states. Abbott painted a picture of a Texas beset by rising crime, overextended police forces, and fearful communities. His proposed solution sounded simple: broaden police authority, introduce new categories of prohibited behavior, and provide prosecutors with more tools. On the surface, the bill seemed straightforward, practical even. But Crockett had read beyond the surface. Buried in sections 7 through 12 were provisions so vague they could criminalize peaceful demonstrations, label critical social media posts as unlawful conduct, and allow police to shut down gatherings they believed might become disruptive, even before they happened. The committee chair looked up from the schedule and announced the moment everyone had anticipated. The chair recognizes Representative Crockett of Texas for 5 minutes of questioning. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Reporters straightened. Cameras adjusted. Staffers paused mid-conversation. Anyone familiar with Crockett knew her 5 minutes rarely stayed within that limit, and it never unfolded the way the witness expected. Before we continue, make sure you hit the subscribe button and comment where you're watching from. You're about to witness a clear example of how a political argument can be broken down step by step, and you won't want to miss it. Crockett adjusted her microphone with steady composure, meeting Abbott's eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Chairman," she began. "Governor Abbott, I appreciate you appearing before this committee to discuss your Community Protection Act. Before we examine the specifics, I want to make sure I understand your main claim. You're saying this bill is necessary to keep Texans safe. Is that correct?" Abbott nodded confidently. "That's correct, Congresswoman. Public safety is my highest priority, and this legislation gives law enforcement the authority they need to protect our communities." Crockett nodded thoughtfully. "And throughout your testimony, you've said this bill is about reducing crime, protecting families, and supporting police officers, objectives I believe everyone agrees are important." "Right." Abbott smiled. "I'm glad we can agree, Representative." It was exactly the opening Crockett wanted. "Common ground is always a good starting point," she said. Her tone remained respectful, but with a sharpened edge that made the room lean in. "So let's discuss what this bill actually does, not the talking points or the press release, but the text itself." She lifted a thick copy of the bill, marked with color-coded tabs and handwritten notes. "Governor, Section 7 introduces a new offense called organized disruption. Can you explain what qualifies as organized disruption?" Abbott maintained a practiced expression. "That section addresses situations where groups intentionally disturb public order, blocking roads or disrupting lawful business." Crockett turned to the highlighted page. "Let me read the exact wording so the public can hear it. Organized disruption shall be defined as any gathering of 3 or more persons that creates, or has the potential to create, interference with normal activities, traffic flow, business operations, or public services." She looked up. Under this definition, couldn't a group of college students protesting tuition increases be charged? Could parents outside a school board meeting be arrested? Could workers picketing for better wages be prosecuted? Abbott's smile tightened. "Those situations are hypothetical. They're not hypothetical at all, Governor, Crockett replied. These are everyday, protected First Amendment activities. And your bill classifies them as criminal conduct. A wave of murmurs swept the room. Crockett continued. Section 9 allows law enforcement to disperse any gathering they believe has disruptive potential, before anything actually happens. That is prior restraint, Governor. And the Supreme Court has been clear, the government cannot restrict speech based on what it thinks might occur. Abbott tried to counter. Representative, public safety sometimes requires. Public safety does not override the Constitution, Crockett shot back. She moved on before he could respond. Section 11 criminalizes using social media or electronic communication to coordinate activities that may lead to disruption. She looked directly into the camera. That means using Facebook, Twitter, or even text messages to organize a protest becomes a crime. Abbott's irritation began to show. Crockett pressed. I've read this bill front to back 3 times. I've consulted constitutional scholars at UT, SMU, and Baylor. They all reached the same conclusion: this bill would not survive its first constitutional challenge. It undermines the First Amendment and is designed to suppress dissent. The room buzzed. When Abbott attempted a condescending pivot about her being newer to Congress, Crockett stopped him cold. Governor, before Congress I spent 15 years as a civil rights attorney. I've defended protesters. I've challenged unconstitutional laws like this. Do not suggest I don't understand what I'm reviewing. Silence. Crockett then listed real-world cases from states that passed similar laws after the 2020 protests: activists arrested for peaceful demonstrations, environmental advocates charged with felonies, disability rights groups prosecuted for sit-ins. And your bill, she said, goes even further. She pointed to Section 12, which created civil liability for anyone who offered material support to protesters. That means a church offering water could be sued. A business letting activists use the restroom could face penalties. An attorney offering free guidance could be held liable. She leaned forward. You're not just criminalizing protests, you're criminalizing community support. That's not public safety. That's authoritarianism. Cameras flashed. Journalists typed furiously. Then came the moment that would define the hearing. Governor, she asked, under your bill, could the civil rights marchers from Selma to Montgomery have been arrested? Abbott hesitated. The historical context is different. Yes or no, she pressed. She broke it down: more than 3 people, traffic disruption, potential disturbance. Churches supporting marchers could be penalized. Your bill, she said, would have made the civil rights movement illegal. The room erupted. Crockett raised her pocket constitution. It doesn't say the right to assemble remains intact unless a governor decides otherwise. It says these rights shall not be abridged. Full stop. She moved to table federal support for the bill pending a constitutional review, drawing immediate support. Within hours, clips of the exchange trended nationwide. Legal experts praised her questioning. Even some conservatives distanced themselves. Abbott's office released a defensive statement, but the damage was done. 3 days later, the Congressional Research Service confirmed major First Amendment concerns. 2 weeks after that, Abbott announced he was reviewing parts of the bill, widely seen as an admission that it was no longer viable. At a local town hall, Crockett kept her remarks simple. I didn't target Governor Abbott personally, she said. I challenged a bill that criminalized constitutional rights. A grandmother who had once been arrested during a peaceful protest stood up with tears in her eyes. Thank you for reading those bills so carefully, she said. Thank you for understanding what they mean for people like me. The moment, captured on a phone, went viral. If this breakdown of how Representative Jasmine Crockett challenged Governor Abbott's unconstitutional legislation was helpful, hit the like button and subscribe for more analysis of key moments in American politics. Comment below with the issues you'd like to see Crockett address next, and share this video with anyone concerned about protecting constitutional rights. Your support helps us continue covering important stories about defending democracy.